Hello everyone, my name is Kent McMullen, meteorologist for A&B Weather, retired meteorologist from the National Weather Service and current weather manager for Georgia Cycling. Since this summer has had an unusual number of days with high heat index values that have been affecting our practices, I thought it would be a good idea to go over what the heat index is, what these numbers actually mean, and go over an app that we recommend to use to help you decide whether you need to adjust your practice for heat index or possibly even canceling your practice due to heat index. So let's get started. So I hear people talking about the wet bulb globe temperature and the heat index and which is best to use for our purposes. Well, it'd be best to go over what each of those actually do use to get their values and what they're generally used for. So let's look at the wet bulb globe temperature, WBGT. It is generally used for those activities that are in full sunshine and not shade, and it does use several variables to compute, which makes it more difficult to obtain. In fact, it uses sky cover, wind direction and speed, temperature, humidity, and if any of those variables change, especially the wind and the sky condition, that could greatly affect the actual wet bulb globe temperature. In addition, the instruments that you need to use in order to get the wet bulb globe temperature, most coaches do not have that, and they can be quite expensive. Whereby heat index uses only the air temperature and the humidity, and it is what it feels like in the shade, not in sunshine. In fact, if you're in sunshine, you can take the heat index value and add about 15 degrees Fahrenheit to that value to see what it actually feels like in the sun. Heat index is used by the National Weather Service to issue heat advisories and warnings, and heat index is readily available on many apps. And so for those reasons, that is why we're going to look at heat index for our purposes with Georgia Cycling. The National Weather Service will issue heat advisories and excessive heat warnings based on the forecast heat index. For a heat index of 105 to 110 degrees, a heat advisory will be issued. For a heat index greater than 110, an excessive heat warning will be issued. Based on the National Weather Service heat advisories and excessive heat warnings, as well as the guidelines from the CDC on heat index, Georgia Cycling has guidelines for you to follow for heat index. When the heat index is 95 to 99 degrees, there is a 2-hour maximum activity time. During that time, 4 separate rest breaks are required each hour with a minimum of 4 minutes in the shade. When the heat index rises to 100 to 105, your activity time is now reduced to 1 hour with still 4 separate rest breaks in the shade, totaling no less than 20 minutes. Once that heat index rises above 105, the activity is delayed until the heat index drops below 105, or the activity is canceled altogether. So after some testing of using National Weather Service observations, we recommend using the Heat Index app from OSHA. It is actually just called Heat Index. This will show the current heat index at your location using the latest observations from the National Weather Service. This will also show the forecast heat index for your location over the next several hours. This app is available on both iPhone and Android. To download the Heat Index app, go ahead and open up your App Store and in the search box type in Heat Index. Once you do that, several different heat index apps will come up. The one we're going to be focusing on is the OSHA NEOSH app. Once you download that, go ahead and open it. You'll have several welcoming opening screens. This one is important. This says allow heat index to use your location. You definitely want to select allow while using app. This will allow the app to follow you wherever you go, especially if your forecast venues change. This will follow you, and so when you bring up the heat index app, it's going to give it to your location wherever you're at. So go ahead and select allow while using app. Under terms of use, go ahead and select agree. There is a little tutorial if you'd like to know more about heat index and what it does to the body. Go ahead and follow the tutorial, but for the purposes of this video, we're going to go ahead and skip the tutorial. So now this is displaying your current heat index, and up here in the top bar under location, it will give you your current location. Well, hopefully it will. If it doesn't and it looks unusual, go ahead and tap in that box. Another screen will pop up at the bottom. What you want to do is tap on Use Current Location, and this will use the locations in your phone, and then you will get your current location. This will display the closest city to your location, the temperature, humidity, and the heat index. So I did tell you that you can look at the forecast heat index for the rest of the day. So tap on this button down here that says hourly. When you do that, you'll get the current heat index, and it has the time up here. Now, if you want to see what it's going to be like this afternoon, swipe from the right to the left, and then you'll go through each hour. In this case, I swiped to noon here, and it says by noon it's going to feel like 94. You can swipe through about 12 to 13 hours of forecast. This will help give you an idea of what your heat index is going to be during your practice time. Now, once you want to go back to the current heat index, tap on the lower left button that says heat index, and that will bring you back to your current location and the current heat index. Now, we do have a weather reference guide that is available on all practice forecasts that go out on Mondays and Thursdays, as well as on the ambweather.com webpage and also the Georgia Cycling Association webpage. Now you can see that we have several different parameters other than heat on here, but for this purpose of this video, we're focusing on heat. So whenever there is a code green, that means the heat index will remain below 95. There are no restrictions to the activity. If we go with a code yellow for heat index, it is because we are expecting a heat index of 95 to 105. Then once that heat index rises above 105, we go to a code red, which means the activity is canceled or postponed until the heat index drops below 105. And finally, if you have any questions or comments, you can email me at ambweather@gmail.com or call me at 770-377-4550. The resources used for this video are the Georgia Cycling Association, AMB Weather, OSHA, CDC, and the National Weather Service. Thank you for taking time to watch this video. And again, if you have any questions or comments, please contact.